That's my synagogue, Young Israel of Hollywood, Fort Lauderdale. We have lots of members, people of all ages, and a full schedule of activities in any given week. We have a few rabbis, and they're the greatest. Sometimes we even have rabbis who visit for the weekend as scholars and residents. But then along came this virus, and with it, self-isolation, quarantine, and for some reason, a major toilet paper shortage. But I digress. So we tried to move all of our classes and activities online, and people seemed to like it. But I was thinking, what if we got some of our rabbis together, perhaps even the occasional guest, once a week, just to shoot the breeze and maybe joke around a little? I'm Avi Fryer, and this is Rabbis in Quarantine Getting Coffee. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Rabbis in Quarantine Getting Coffee, a very special episode of the show. Very excited. We have two rabbis with us today. I don't think this is a trend. People were concerned. The first week we had 4 rabbis. The second episode we had 3 rabbis. This week we only have 2 rabbis. But the 2 rabbis this week, I don't think we could have had anyone else in here, because this is just, we're gonna already, as it is, we're gonna be pushing the boundaries. The 2 rabbis we have today are Rabbi Weinstock and Rabbi Weinstock's brother, Rabbi Weinstock. I've been saying that for about a week now. I'm a big fan of Elmo. Remember Mr. Noodle's brother, Mr. Noodle? Well, we have Rabbi Weinstock's brother, Rabbi Weinstock. I'd like to welcome everybody from KJ in Manhattan, who is joining us, because Rabbi Weinstock's brother, Rabbi Weinstock, is the rabbi there. That's Rabbi Eli Weinstock, and our very own Rabbi Weinstock here in Hollywood, Florida, Rabbi Yosef Weinstock. Now, you will notice they are not on screen right now. And the reason for that is that I was just curious, because people say, well, they don't really look alike, but they sound alike. So I figured we would get things going and just hear our rabbis speak. So Rabbi Weinstock, how you doing today?
I'm doing okay. Thanks, Avi, for having me.
I think I know who I'm talking to. I think I know who that is. What about the other Rabbi Weinstock? How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay.
Okay, I thought I knew who I was talking to the first time. So let me just go back to the first Rabbi Weinstock. What's your favorite quote from Seinfeld?
Can't stand you.
Okay, I definitely know who that one is. Now let's just go to the other Rabbi Weinstock. What is your favorite quote from Seinfeld?
So you think you're better than me?
Okay, I got it. I gotta look and see if anyone in the chat is with us here. Nobody has posted anything in the chat yet that I can see. But do you know who our Rabbi Weinstocks are? Which one has been speaking? No one's posted anything yet, but I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that the first Rabbi Weinstock who spoke was Rabbi Yosef Weinstock from Young Israel of Hollywood, Fort Lauderdale, and the second one was Rabbi Eli Weinstock of Kehilat Jeshurun. How do you pronounce that? Jeshurun of New York City. Did I get it right?
You got it right.
All right, let's turn on our videos. Let's start talking to the people.
Hey, Avi.
All right, welcome to the show. We have Rabbi Yosef Weinstock in the World's Greatest Abba t-shirt there. And Larry Adolph called it right. Gila Sroor called it right. Nessa Rich called it right. They're posting. They're listening.
Because those people are from New York and or Florida calling it right. So.
Well, Nessa Rich is one of our local people. She called it right too.
That's correct.
So the two of you. So Rabbi Eli, I'm gonna drop the last names here, and I'll still say Rabbi because Kavod Arav and all. But Rabbi Eli, what are you drinking? It's called Rabbis in Quarantine Getting Coffee.
I'm drinking out of a coffee cup.
You're drinking out of a coffee cup. I have a giant stainless steel coffee cup, and I'll admit it has seltzer in it. Rabbi Yosef Weinstock likes to go for the coffee vodka. Rabbi Eli, what do you have there?
I have a tequila on the rocks with a twist.
tequila on the rocks with a twist. And would that twist be that it's really just water, or
Could be. I like
could
to
be. So I'd like to get things started here. I mean, I don't think it can go much worse than yeah, or at least much more controversial than the last time I made a video about Rabbi Weinstock. So let's open it up here. Rabbi, you're at Shul's that really have a lot in common. And I was trying in the beginning to reach out a little bit and try to find somebody who's been to a lot to both Shul's. I didn't hear back from the people. They could not be reached for comment. But you both get to really hang out in Rabbi Lookstein's shul a lot, right? And Rabbi Lookstein is a member. He comes to our shul in the winter months. I didn't see him that much this year because I know that he likes to daven in the what is it, the Grandview Minyan there. So Rabbi Eli, does it surprise you Rabbi Lookstein is a fan of the Breakaway Minyan?
I think that that's not generally the approach that he comes from, but as they say, what happens in Hollywood stays in Hollywood. So
that is what they say. But they might not be talking about this particular Hollywood. So so Rabbi Yosef, you have a lot of KJ people who come down to Hollywood. Some of them are former members of KJ who are now members of Young Israel of Hollywood, and some of them are go back and forth. They're in both places. We have some pretty heavy hitters from people from heavy hitting families from KJ. What's it like? What's it like for you? Do you feel like you're in anybody's shadow or anything like that?
Well, it's always sunny in Florida, so I don't feel like I'm ever in a shadow. But what's always great is how my friends from the Northeast, when they come down, they loosen their tie a little bit. They come to shul without a jacket. They really feel warm, not only from the temperature, but from the experience, the hamishness that is Young Israel of Hollywood. So long as they're not davening for the Amud, there's no need for a jacket. And I think they really appreciate letting their hair down a little bit while they're with us down in South Florida.
Now, I'm sure that's something that the two of you don't know much about, letting one's hair down. But I don't want to hit low. I don't want to hit low, except with this question. I interviewed many years ago to be the youth director at KJ, and my first mistake was showing up late for the interview. That's a whole other story. But in the interview, I was told, we're very formal here, and everyone on the bima, including the rabbi, wears a morning suit, is in formal attire. And I see that, Rabbi Eli, you have shown up in formal attire today. You have the whole tuxedo thing going on. Is this how you dress when you go to shul?
Absolutely not. But it is paying homage to the formality of the main synagogue and the striped pants and hats that are in favor among some and is part of that long tradition. And I wouldn't say I'm thumbing my nose in tradition, but the idea of dressing formally for something like this, but a blue bow tie, that's almost as bad as wearing brown shoes. In our, it's on the borderline of a hareg v'al yavor. But I figure for a gathering like this, and that's in good fun, I'll probably only receive about 40 lashes for it, so it's worth it.
I would
say, if you're going to thumb your nose, please wash your hands before doing so.
Yes, definitely. These are things we need to be very careful about. But Rabbi Eli, just continuing on with the wardrobe thing, I understand that in the past, your mode of dress was the three-piece suit. This is what I was told. And Rabbi Yosef did not rat you out here. This is just my own journalistic digging. Tell me about the three-piece suit, because I heard that it was a mainstay.
It still is very much in vogue among some of the rabbis. I've always seen myself as a trailblazer, so I have shed the vest and started a new trend. But it is when I first came to KJ almost 17 years ago,
first thing I was told is to go to a certain address and order a certain suit and just say, "You're a rabbi at KJ," and they would know what to give you. And they did, a three-piece suit. And that still is a formal mode of dress. It's a challenge because these days, three-piece suits are not necessarily as in vogue as are neither our ties, neither our socks. So it's, one would say that some of the traditions at KJ, we really feel ourselves stemming the tide against, terrible things like dressing down and mixed dancing and the like.
So,
but I think Avi Fryer is referring to a throwback well before KJ, perhaps when Rabbi Eli would like to wear three-piece suits. Is that maybe what you're talking about?
I'm talking about growing up in the old days.
That is how some have predicted that being at KJ is actually my destiny. As a youngster, at the age of 3, I preferred three-piece suits, especially in the.
I imagine they brown. They brown.
No, the brown suit was when I was 11, but the three-piece suit was my choice of dress in the summer in 95-degree heat. And as I remember, and as does the individual who would sometimes walk me to shul on Shabbos morning, our father, as a physician, sometimes would be on call. He would come in an open neck, short sleeve, white button down shirt, picking up the little 3-year-old wearing a three-piece suit. And some would say, in hindsight, that was a surefire sign that KJ was the only place for me to be.
The only place. So Ram Roth, I hope I got that, pronounced that right. Ram Roth, is he's one of your members, Rabbi Eli?
Yes.
He wants to know who's older. So you can, I mean, he's definitely obviously scored some brownie points with you because he doesn't know that you are the older one by 4 years, correct?
Yes.
I
thought I gave it away with my need to stand up. Once one of my brother's kids called them the number one Abba. I had to go out and make myself a T-shirt that says "World's Greatest Abba."
You made that for yourself? Normally you hint to your wife to hint to the kids for Father's Day to get it for you. You made that yourself?
No, my kids made it for me.
But, okay.
But so, I filled it out. They pressed the send button. I mean,
So on that subject, Rabbi Yosef, you were the younger, not the youngest. There were just 2 of you for a long time. And I guess a lot of times Rabbi Eli had to take care of you.
Well, I took care of him.
Like babysitting and that kind of thing.
I don't know. I think I blocked that out. I think there was trauma there.
Well, I could remind you of a few things if that would help. But really, my question is, you mentioned to me that you started. Now you never knew what it was like to be the oldest, but once you had children of your own, you started seeing some older brother tendencies that you saw in your own brother appearing in your own children.
That's true. I love my oldest, Yaakov, and he's going to kill me for talking about him. That's okay. It's all in good fun. But Yaakov's very studious. He likes to read. My brother liked to read real books. I used to read Richie Rich and the occasional Archie when I could get my hands on it. My brother, my brother would pick on me and then beg for my forgiveness. And that's what, do you forgive me? You forgive me? And my oldest does that too with our children, with his siblings. He picks on them a little bit, but then he begs for their forgiveness. So it's been a wild ride being a parent after.
When you say beg for your forgiveness, is that like beat you up until you forgive him?
No, say really fast. So because like the halacha by Erev Yom Kippur is if you say it 3 times, you don't have a choice, right? So if you say it real fast, you forgive me,
forgive me.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Okay, and just on the flip side of that, Rabbi Eli, what was it like? Was he a bratty little brother? What was the deal?
Well, he was he ran around. Yeah, he was a ball of energy. Always running, jumping, climbing, falling, slicing his tongue in 2. Climbing the ropes to the rafters in our gym. He was quite the little the whirling dervish of the time.
Funny you should say that, because somebody I spoke to today who knew the two of you growing up referred to Rabbi Yosef as the daredevil and Rabbi Eli as the uptight one. I'm sorry. That's what they said. So
I'll stop you when I disagree. That's
really? So you weren't a daredevil?
No, I was. I mean, I know I was.
Daredevil and I was uptight. I think that's what he was trying to say.
Oh, okay. So
I was. I guess that's true.
all right. So Rabbi Eli, you mentioned falling down. I heard that that when you were stuck babysitting, Rabbi Yosef was not allowed to leave the couch. He was confined to the couch, because if he left the couch, there was a chance or a probability, a likelihood that he was going to fall down.
Generally, the probability of not necessarily tripping and falling, but he would jump and climb and do all sorts of things that would end up that way. You know, there were 2 or 3 episodes of Stitches that I recall.
Not so many.
You know, even as a very young person, there was the coffee incident that you know.
That's why I drink cold coffee.
That's why you don't drink hot coffee anymore. But
that's right.
That was not my watch. That was my mother's fault.
So
okay.
The truth is, I myself could argue against the whole uptight thing, because Rabbi Eli, you had a pretty good time at overnight camp, didn't you?
I would say not.
Really?
Absolutely not.
Because I understand it was
basically, you know, you're reopening wounds that have taken hours and hours of therapy to heal. So
that's okay. This show.
Any Camp Hatikva alum on the?
I don't know.
This show has a small budget. We could probably pay for some more therapy for you, but I understand it was Rabbi Yosef who on visiting day was very thankful to your parents for sending you to camp, and at the same time, but you don't have to do this again. And you were the daredevil. What happened there?
That's right. Who, me?
Yeah.
You got out of it.
I mean, at that age, I saw things that I shouldn't see as such a young person. It scarred me for a generation. I'm just getting over it, and now my son is on his way to camp. But it took a while. Let's put it that way.
So maybe we could save some money and do some Zoom group therapy for the two of you. It seems that you both have the same reaction to the overnight camp.
It was.
So, I guess my sources aren't as good as I thought they were.
But we made up for it, because we left home again when we were for high school.
Right.
That was a much better experience.
You both went to MTA.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Tamar Davis Galper, but I mean around here we just call her Tamar Davis, wants to know who's Mama Weinstock's favorite son.
Oh.
She's not the only one who asked that question, by the way. I got emails today from Donna Herzig, wanted to know who's Mama Weinstock's favorite son, and Gerald Meyerhoff wanted to know who's Daddy Weinstock's favorite son. So you could just answer together if you'd like, just
1, 2, 3.
Well, you could tell me about each parent separately.
What I always say about my mother is that she had 4 children and she loved all of them, but everyone knew that I was her favorite. That's what it was.
And Rabbi Eli, what do you say to that?
I think that's true until the girls came along, and that's that reopened her favorite list.
Okay.
They're not on. We didn't let them speak for themselves.
Top 3.
You were in the top 3, and Tamar actually follows that up by saying that that she was her father's favorite daughter, so she comes from a place of knowledge asking this question. I think there are 6 other daughters that may or may not disagree with what she says, but what about your dad? Who's Dad's favorite?
Oh, I don't know.
It depends. I feel I get leaned on more, and I get the tough assignments. So
that's true. That is true. That is true. when there's bad news to be shared, I text it to my brother and I'm like, all right, you tell daddy, I'm not doing it. You do it. I don't want to do it. So I agree with that. That's true.
All right. So Tzachi Baitner points out that Camp HaTikva is a blast from the past for him. And I'm going to come back to people's questions. If you have questions you would like me to ask either Rabbi Weinstock or both Rabbi Weinstocks, you can post them in the chat. But I'm just closing the chat window for a moment and not looking at it because I have some other questions I'd like to ask. And to do this, I'm going to need to share my screen again. And so let me just do that real quick. And while I'm figuring out how to do that, I'll just give a little bit of an introduction. Rabbi Yosef, your wife, like mine, is a speech language pathologist, a speech therapist. That's correct?
Yes.
And I know, just because I'm practically a speech therapist myself, because my wife Sharon she was doing her master's and we were already married, so I helped her through her master's. I studied everything with her. I tested her. I could practically be a speech therapist, and I know that they have something they like to do when they're sitting down with a client, especially a child who needs speech therapy. They play games, they show them pictures, and they get them to talk about the pictures. And one of the popular games they like to play is what's happening in this picture. So I'd like to know what's happening in this picture. And with this, I'm just gonna point out that when I saw this picture, I canceled the DNA test because it is very clear that Rabbi Yosef, you are Avi Weinstock's father. There's no need to go on Mari Povich for this one. But what's going on here?
You are the father.
That's right. What's happening? Tell me about this.
I think I'm saying don't throw up on me, or I may throw up on you.
Yeah, that could be.
Okay. Do you remember this one, Rabbi Yosef? You were a little kid there.
The first thing you notice is the Yankee hat. We live the New York Yankees. We lived in New Haven, Connecticut, where the local teams covered by the sports paper were the Boston Red Sox, the New York Mets, and the New York Yankees. It wasn't until I got to high school that I realized that you can't be a Red Sox and Yankees fan without getting beat up. So it was a tough learning curve. But that's the first thing I see. I imagine we're probably on the Jersey Shore, perhaps. That could be where we are. We used to spend summers there. My grandmother, who passed away a few months ago, people know, she lived on the Jersey Shore, and we would go and visit. So that could be where that is. I don't know. I'm unimpressed. I'm a daredevil.
Okay.
Nothing.
But tell me the whole thing about with the Yankees hat. That might actually explain the next one. You remember the routine they used to have on Saturday Night Live? I just want to pump you up. The whole. So that brings me to the next one, and it really looks like that's what's happening in this picture. But I think this picture might have been taken a little bit before that. You've got the headbands going on. You've got the matching workout clothes going on. What's the deal here?
So number one, we're wearing members only windbreakers that we would get from our grandmother every year for Hanukkah or birthdays. I think those are matched.
I think it was like Opa's Remainders or something.
Oh yeah, it may have been on that side. And I think I'm supposed to be superstar Jimmy Snuka. We were quite fans of World Wrestling Federation when it was still real. Now it's entertainment, but back in the day it was real.
Oh yeah.
We would watch it religiously.
Okay.
We're imitating the wrestlers of our youth. I think we're on vacation there. It looks like a hotel room.
So I guess I guess Shabbos afternoon, when the day got long and boring, you really imitated the wrestlers of your youth. And
that's probably Saturday night, because even back then, I know it.
Oh, that's true. Right. Shabbos afternoon, we're not using the camera.
Pictures.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah,
well, we didn't often dress up in our Shabbos clothes and play, but I'm guessing Saturday night.
That looks like after a long day of him bothering the heck out of me, I was trying to get my revenge. It probably didn't work, but
I gotcha. Now, this is one of my personal favorites right here.
I look pretty happy. Must be visiting day at Camp HaTikva.
I
Oh,
think
is
I'm
that visiting day?
smoking. Am I
Is that
smoking?
Camp HaTikva?
Yeah, it must be.
All right, and I like the baseball shirt. It really says baseball to me. What I really find interesting, Rabbi Yosef, is that a cigar in your mouth or a pretzel trying to look like a cigar?
I am smoking. That is what is. I was
You
a
are.
bad back then.
Now, you're not the only one, because
Who said the big brother doesn't learn from his little brother?
That's right. That's right. And this is the one I really need to know what's happening
he was doing the vest all the way back then.
That's right. The three-piece suit.
You can really trace it through the history.
Yes, you can. And then finally, yes, two little girls came along. I believe, Rabbi Eli, this is your wedding.
It is my wedding.
And Young Israel of Hollywood people, tell me if you think he looks like Michelle Vogel, because that's Michael in Portuguese, by the way. I'm not saying you look like a girl. All right, that's what I got there. I'm just gonna turn off that screen share and come back to you.
It was great. Thank you for that. Going down memory lane. That was
memory lane. Yeah, thanks for that TikTok picture.
Did I bring back any more cruel memories?
There's just that one night of the raid and the oyster crack. It's not. I don't think people want to be bored or bothered by these memories. But thanks a lot.
All right. So, I by the way, I got a comment from Michelle Vogel's wife with 3 laughing emojis. So I think she agreed that you actually looked like him. We'll have to compare some pictures later. She joined up at just the right moment.
It was actually something you had mentioned, Rabbi Lookstein, before, and there was something that I had come across. I just felt it was necessary to share. It's from Rabbi Lookstein's memoir that was written a few years ago. And in it, it talks about his father's, Rabbi Lookstein took over for his father, Rabbi Joseph Lookstein. And Rabbi Joseph Lookstein was very prim and proper. He always wanted things to run with decorum, more like the left side of your screen, less like the right side of your screen, in the split screen of KJ and Young Israel. So anyway, he talks about in a bulletin in 1976, he admonishes his congregation for, quote, overindulgence in handshaking. That's right, an overindulgence in handshaking. And he says that instead of handshaking, a friendly and dignified nod of the head would be more appropriate. So, 45 years ago, he was onto something. An overindulgence of handshaking, something we will have to think about as we look forward to going back to shul.
So social distancing was a thing at KJ. How many years ago?
45 years ago.
45 years ago. Who knew?
We're trendsetters.
All right. I have an anonymous WhatsApp. Somebody would like to know, who was the ladies' man when you were teenagers? Which one was the bigger ladies' man?
I think that picture that you went through over there gave you a little bit of indication that we were both kind of players.
I guess so. Although, Rabbi Yosef, you couldn't open your eyes for that picture for some reason. What was? But I
don't remember what I was smoking that day. But.
Rabbi Eli had sunglasses on, so your eyes might have been closed too. I have no idea. So you're saying it was equal? Is that?
I think I got a bit of a later start, and I think that my younger brother saw that it was no crime to be social, so he got a little bit of an earlier start.
I was a precocious lad. Yes, I would say that's fair.
Were you? And on the precocious subject, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Eli mentioned there's a particular pop singer that you did a good impersonation of.
Yeah. Well, I think we've, I think 10 years ago, I think when I was first honored by the shul, they played a little bit of that. We for the kids only. I mean, I was in college and I was trying to do some kiruv with NCSY, so this was purely for the kids. But we did some. We did some covers of some songs. One of which was Britney Spears. "Teach Me, Rebbe, One More Line." You might have heard it.
Rebbe, one more line.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
Now-
it's out there. People have listened to it. We're actually trying to we're trying to cut a deal with Yidneck Records. We're going to see if we can do it.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a big label. I don't know if they'll listen, but we could find out. And so when did the Seinfeld obsession start? And who's the bigger Seinfeld lover?
Oh, I feel I'm older and wiser on this one, but my little brother gives me a run for the money. When did it start? I think we were always fans, but I think that it happens to be that life of a rabbi, you're busy. You settle down around 11 o'clock at night, and guess what? An hour of Seinfeld before you go to sleep.
I was going to say that my my TV watching. I'm not so sophisticated. I don't watch Netflix. I don't binge watch. But when I get home, it's 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. What's usually on, in syndication, I think is when it happened. And I don't think I'm a bigger. I don't think I know more, but like my mind immediately goes to the Seinfeld reference. Maybe because I live in Florida, so close to Del Boca Vista, and people have bought
Phase
Cadillac.
1 or phase 2?
Right.
Phase
And
1 or phase 2?
What was that?
Phase 1 or phase 2?
Phase 2. And so like maybe because I'm around it, it immediately go like the second something reminds me of Seinfeld, I'm seeing those nickels all over the place. Like that's what happens. And
That's also a Seinfeld reference for those who don't know.
And it's apropos that you mentioned the idea of both of you being rabbis with long schedules, because Liz Browser asks, have you ever both knowingly or unknowingly applied for the same job?
No.
we've been pretty steady. This Rabbi, my brother is 4 years older, so he finished his studies 4 years before me. But he was involved in outreach and worked for NCSY for about 3 of those years. So he's been at KJ 17 years. I've been at Young Israel 16 years. So we've been pretty steady. We talk about maybe doing a pulpit swap. This is the closest we've gotten to that. But maybe if there's a groundswell of requests, once it's safe to travel again, maybe we can swap. We can do a little swap.
You have done a little bit recently, right? Isn't there aren't you tag team converting someone?
Well, we share some congregants, and
we share a lot in the rabbinate. People, ideas. Sometimes we have to be careful if people are going up and down different times of year. Don't go to that minyan and hear the sermon. Wait till you hear it up here. Wait till you hear it down there.
Usually it's okay because they can't be in both our shuls on the same Shabbos. If Yontif
Half marathons, you share those. You share the half marathons.
Yes, we do. The running rabbi.
He followed my lead on that. He's although my brother runs a little quicker than I do, maybe twice as fast as I do, maybe. But I was doing them down here in Miami, and then my brother picked it up with his wife, and we ran last year in the Jerusalem Half Marathon. It was great. I have to say that one of the perks of having a brother in the rabbinate is that when you go on a conference, you don't have to. You can go with the double occupancy.
Absolutely.
You don't get stuck with a guy who you don't want to be sleeping with. It's your brother, and it's great, and that's very helpful.
Beautiful. All right, I don't have any questions for you, except I would like to really settle once and for all who's the bigger Seinfeld fan. I have some randomly chosen Seinfeld trivia questions.
Okay.
I'd like to go back and forth between the two of you. Best out of 5 each, which would be a total of 10 questions, and see which one of you is the bigger Seinfeld fan. If between now and the time I finish with this, anybody posts any other questions that they'd like me to ask, I'll be happy to ask them. Otherwise, we could just wrap it up with your final thoughts. So think about what you want to say. So I guess I'll start with Rabbi Eli, our visiting rabbi on this show. What brand of golf ball does George pull out of the whale's blowhole?
Might that be a Titleist?
That would be a titleist.
All in one.
At
All
that
right.
moment, I was a marine biologist.
All right. Rabbi Yosef, just go into the next. In one episode, oh, this is an easy one. In one episode, Jerry agreed to wear a particular article of clothing for an interview. What was it?
It was a puffy shirt
Yes.
to
No
the
more
Mumbler. Yes,
No more
Yeah, I heard.
that you heard.
Also,
Okay. Yeah. Rabbi Eli, in the episode The Masseuse, what was the name of George's girlfriend?
Oh no, I'm very bad with names.
Ooh. Eitan, get over here. No, I'm just kidding. He doesn't.
Eitan knows that one.
No, he doesn't know that one.
I got to give you like 3 seconds here.
No, I don't know. Drawing a blank.
All right. Not for credit. Rabbi Yosef, do you know the answer?
The waitress with the long fingernails. That one.
No, that was Kramer. It wasn't George's.
Her
Georgia.
name was Karen. Rabbi Yosef, in the alternate side, who is the guy that moves the cars from one side of the street to the other so people don't get parking
Man,
tickets?
I love him. If I ever get out of this gig, that's what I want to do. Oh man, I can picture him.
You can't park cars.
Not Nick, but that's what's coming to my mind. So I'm going to say Nick.
His name
Vic.
is Sid.
Did
So you are still tied. Rabbi Eli, name one of George's horses at his fictitious home in the Hamptons.
Yeah, it's at like Prickly Pete or something like that.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Rabbi Yosef,
Sure, you want to keep going with it? That's fine. Let's keep going with it.
name the other.
Oh!
Oh no! Oh no! Come on. I'd like to phone a friend, please. No.
Could phone Rabbi Eli, but I don't think he'll help you out with this one.
Pete and something, and
Yes.
Blossom.
Lucky?
No.
Is Blossom the answer you're going with?
Yeah.
Snoopy.
Uh,
Snoopy.
the other famous horse you're thinking of is Rusty.
Rusty is a good.
Rabbi Eli is
Tony.
ahead 2-1 with 2 more questions to go for each of you. Rabbi Eli, in the pony remark, according to Jerry, what are ponies not used for?
That's hard.
Someone has a pony. I think she has a pony.
Why would you go for a country that doesn't have ponies?
A country with ponies.
Yes.
Uh,
Who leaves a country packed with ponies to come to a non-pony country? But what are they not used for? Got to give you 3 seconds.
Not used for heavy labor. I don't know.
Crowd control.
Uh,
Rabbi Yosef, your chance to tie it up. Other than
Ooh.
Jerry, who uttered the words "Hello, Newman"?
Oh, Jerry's mom.
That is correct. All right, I have one more question for each of you, and I'm willing to leave this as a tie if that's the way it goes. So I got to go to the next page now. I used up all the ones on this page. Here we go. Who or what is called Golden Boy? This is Rabbi Eli's question.
This is not a fair question.
You don't think so? Okay, I'll give him a different question.
No, you can give it to him because he doesn't know.
No, I know my golden boy, but I don't know.
Why did
Wait. Can I tell him why I didn't think it was fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now that you know it, because every year you go on the 8th grade Ramaz trip to Israel and you wear the same shirt every time.
Mm.
Oh wait,
That-
you didn't think it was fair because you thought it was too easy?
That's correct, because he has a golden boy. He has this orange shirt, this orange polo that he wears every year. And we
Oh,
don't even
so-
know which year it is that he went on he rappels down a mountain in the same orange polo every year for the last 12.
I thought you were defending him. I was gonna give him another question, but okay.
Well,
So
now we've been talking way too much about it, so I do need another question.
all right. So Rabbi Yosef, this is the last question. If you get it right, then I have to declare you the winner. You are my employer, but still, if you get it wrong, I'm going to declare it a tie. And here is the question: why did George want to name his firstborn child Seven?
So easy.
Come on. Although Soda would be a good name, Seven is Mickey Mantle.
It's true.
Come on.
Okay, now
Who was Golden Boy?
Golden Boy was his shirt that gets lost with baby blue.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, Avi?
I guess. I don't know. I was just reading off some list of trivia questions. All right. I don't see any more questions. So I'd like to know your final thoughts. Anything we didn't talk about that you'd like to have brought up? I'll start with our guest, Rabbi Eli. What do you have to say?
And it's wonderful to be able to share the Zoom with my little brother, because we hardly ever speak to each other. So opportunities are very, very special, and I think that the fact that we've had the opportunity to serve as rabbis in communities that have lots of interlocking parts has been wonderful. As some of the congregants from Hollywood say when they come up, sitting and sure they weren't sure what to expect, and then the rabbi got up to speak and it was a familiar voice and put them right to sleep. It just but to be able to do things like this, especially in times when we're not able to do our usual routines, gives me a chance to do a little bit of an unusual routine. So thanks.
I'm glad you feel that way. We should do this again. How about you, Rabbi Yosef?
Well, I was going to say, it's, my brother was being facetious that we don't speak. We speak all the time. And it's it's really great that we get to do that. But we never get to really see each other. So Zoom's been fun. In fact, when all the talk about, I'm not going to be with my family for Pesach, and they said, oh, let's have a Zoom Seder on Erev Pesach. My brother, I said, why? Like, I never see Eli on Pesach. Why should I have a Zoom with him this year? But it reminds me of the good times we've had. I brought one of my T-shirts with me to remind us of some of the sayings that we grew up with, including never leave New Haven with an empty tank or a full bladder. These are things that you live and learn, and it becomes part of who we are as people. And I would just say that to share the Zoom with my brother, who performs every December 25th in the comedy clubs of New York as one of New York's funniest rabbis, and to be able to share a Zoom with him has been a real pleasure. Next time you're up in New York, ask to see. When Ellie comes down here, I say you're not gonna want to do your act, are you? But
Not an act.
Great. when he does, it's great to see him. And I would just say that in these days, we should pray and we should be kind and patient, and we should also laugh. Laughter is a tremendous source of comfort and a source of strength. So thank you, Avi, for facilitating this program.
Now, before we go, wait, you were about to say something else, Rabbi Ali?
A number of KJ people were asking about my comedy. I think on the KJ side, we will organize an evening of my stand-up. So
I think we should have New York and Florida's funniest rabbis get together on Zoom and make a little show together right here. I'll be happy to MC that sucker.
All right.
So
we have a dance off also.
Did you say, what did you say? Have what?
We have a dance. Can we have a dance off?
Dance off. Absolutely. I actually, just to turn this a little risque, I actually thought you said pants off. And I was going to say,
I was told that we're not standing up.
That's right. What do you think we're doing right now? But there are actually some questions that came in while you were giving your final thoughts. Gerald Meyerhoff would like a little perspective on when it is right and wrong to wear a tuxedo.
So, right, anytime is tuxedo time. In KJ, tuxedo time is the first night of any holiday. First night of Rosh Hashanah, Kol Nidre, first night of Sukkot. first night of Pesach, first night of Shavuos. Those are special opportunities. There's actually a sheer behind it, but the short version is on holidays, we visit God. And at KJ, we believe God has a very formal dress code. So we dress up for that.
All right. And there was, Michael Chessel wants to know, who's your money on for next year's Jerusalem Marathon?
Well, I'm hoping it's happening. Michael Chessel ran with us last year. Remember, we saw him with our friend Oleg, right? Ellie, remember? Yeah. So we were in the Shuk together. Who's my money on? I've not committed, but we've talked about running the New York City half together. And when is that? Is that in November? When is that?
Usually in February, March, but
February, March. So if it happens next year, that's kind of what I'm looking at. But we'll see.
What Michael really wants to know is which one of you is gonna finish first.
There's a question. He is. No question.
Start training now.
The only person I race is myself. If I finish, I win. That's what I say.
Yeah, that's something slow people say. All right. Rabbi Weinstock, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Thank my anonymous people who provided the anonymous tips and photos to help us along with tonight's show. Join us next week for another riveting episode of Rabbis in Quarantine Getting Coffee. And as always, I'm Avi Fryer, looking forward to seeing everybody back in Shul once again really soon.